Hi my loves, welcome back and welcome to my channel. If you are new, it is lovely to have you and thank you for joining. Today we are going to be talking about some makeup, some beauty favorites. I was very aware that the majority of these products were of a higher price point, so I thought it would be fun to do something a little bit different and try to find dupes of my favorites of the year. I couldn't buy new makeup for it because of Project 10 Pan, so I had to look through what I already owned and find you guys dupes for products that I've loved this year. So before we start, comment down below which side you think is high-end and which side you think is drugstore. Can you tell? I'm playing with my new lens today, so if things look a little bit weird, I'm still playing, so give it a little bit of time. Let the battle between high street and drugstore commence. We are up close and we are personal right now. I'm just experimenting at this point, so if there are things that don't look so great, hopefully I will iron out those kinks for the next video. So like I said, I'm going to be doing half my face with my 2020 favorites and the other half of my face with some more affordable dupes that I have found. I don't have a dupe for every single product, but I do for the majority. I've also already done my brows, which look a little bit crazy. They don't look as crazy when the rest of my makeup is on, but right now they're definitely looking a little bit insane. So just don't mind that. But I guess let's just get started. Let's crack on. So I'm gonna start with a big favorite of the year, which is the Pixi Detoxify Depuffing Eye Patches. You will have seen me wear these so much this year. They're just great if you have particularly puffy eyes in the morning and you just need something to kind of cool them down, calm them a little bit. I call them my eye boogers because they're these weird little like jelly sheets that you pop under your eyes. And I also love to wear these while I'm doing my makeup because it keeps any fallout from falling on your face. Like that. I have already done my brows because actually since 2020 I've completely changed my brow routine. So I will show you in an upcoming video how I've been doing my brows recently because loads of people have been asking me on Instagram. This year I discovered brow pencil, which I know is very basic, but I've always been a pomade girl, and this year I decided to play with the Benefit Precisely My Brow Pencil, and then I never went back, and it has been my favorite brow product for the whole of 2020. I absolutely love it. It makes such fine little lines so you can draw hair strokes, which is what I need to do because I just have random patches where I just don't have hair, which is really fun. Great to just be able to draw hairs back in. And my drugstore affordable duplicate for that is the Max Factor Brow Shaper Ultra Fine Shape Fill Define. This side is the Benefit and this side is the Max Factor. They are practically the same. They are both really fine, last all day. They both have a spoolie. If anything, the Max Factor is a slightly more compact packaging, which is really the only difference I find. It's also a slightly cooler color, which I'm preferring at the moment. So if one of them has the edge right now, I actually may think it's the Max Factor. Just saying. A product that I don't have a duplicate for is the Benefit 24-Hour Brow Set. I talk about this every favorites video every year. I think I've used this for about 4 years. It is the best brow gel ever. That is until I discovered soap brows, which is how I've done my brows today. It's second to soap brow. If you don't want to faff around with a bar of soap, this is a really, really great brow gel to stick your hairs down and keep them in place all day. So I'm gonna do my eyes first and let these puppies do their job. So I'm going to put some concealer on my lid. I have two favorite concealers this year. I'm gonna start with the one I'm going to use as a base, the NARS Soft Matte Complete Concealer. NARS base products, I don't think there's been a favorites video ever, any year, where I haven't talked about NARS and their base products. They do my absolute favorites. This is the Soft Matte Complete Concealer. It is the best concealer I've ever tried for covering blemishes and breakouts. It is matte, it lasts all day, and it doesn't reflect light, so if you have a bump, it completely flattens it. If you've got a hydrating concealer on a blemish, it can reflect light and highlights it and makes it more obvious. So you want to use something matte on it, and this has been my favorite. And then if you would like a affordable option, the L'Oreal Infallible 24-Hour Concealer Pomade is a really great dupe for this. It's another matte, high coverage concealer, comes in a pot, they look the same. It's slightly more drying. I think the NARS one is a little bit creamier. It's matte yet still creamy. It's not dry and cakey, whereas this is slightly drier. So I would recommend maybe warming it up with your fingers if you're going to use this, but it's still a really great alternative to the NARS. So I'm going to prime my lid using the NARS on this side and the L'Oreal on this side. I just like to buff this on with a fluffy brush, just for a really thin application of colour, and I just bring it all the way up to the brow, all the way into the nose, and I also pull it quite far out as well. But you don't want a really thick layer because it'll crease. So here is the L'Oreal. As you can see, still excellent coverage. This shade is a little bit lighter than the other one, than the NARS, but it doesn't matter. This will get covered up anyway. Still a good amount of coverage. It's just slightly heavier. I don't know if you can tell. It just doesn't go on quite as smooth. And like I said, using your finger can help keep it a little bit more blendable. For my palette of the year, I think a really obvious choice would be the NARS Loaded palette, because it was in my Project 10 pan. I use it every day I wore makeup this year, just because I want to use it up, get through it, and finish it for Project 10 pan. I do love that palette very much, but you guys have seen me talk about it so many times. You know I love that palette. So I thought I would use a much more recent favorite in 2020, and that has got to be the Vive palette. Jamie Genevieve's brand, Vive, her first palette, the Essentials palette. So I've talked about this already on my channel. I did do a video using it, but these colors are so up my street. The quality of these eyeshadows is absolutely amazing. They are really pigmented, beautiful creamy mattes. They blend so well. The shimmers are stunning if you use a sticky base. The glitters really show up. It's gorgeous. I absolutely love this palette. So I thought I would use this today, and I was kind of struggling to find a dupe for this palette because some of the shades are very unique. The closest I could find for you is the Zoeva Caramel Melange palette. This is like a throwback. I've not used this in a long time. Here are the shades. They are all very warm, so it's gonna be a warm tone look today, and we're definitely gonna be pulling the warm tones from Vive. They aren't identical, but there are some very similar shades in here, so I'm gonna do a little bit of trickery, try and make these work, try and make them look very similar as I can for a side-by-side look. If you can't quite afford Vive, the Zoeva palette is a really beautiful palette that I used to use all the time. If you go back to my old videos, you would know. I did a look the other day that was really heavy on the inner corner here with a smoky wing, and then this part here, like the upper outer crease, was really bright and light. So I'm going to do something similar. So the first shade I'm going to take is So Shy from the Vive palette, and Wax Paper, which is the Zoeva equivalent, and I'm gonna tap this on the outer upper third. This is to brighten up this area, but also just to set that concealer and allow your eyeshadows to blend really well. Very similar, not much to report yet. Next, I'm gonna go in with the shade Cozy, which is this gorgeous, warm, red-toned, brown, burnt, orange, rust, gorgeous color. And you want to take a teeny bit because these are very pigmented. And I'm actually going to place it right in the inner third of my crease, kind of by the side of my nose. And this is where the color is going to be the most intense. Woohoo! So like I said, very pigmented shades. So you really don't need to use a lot of product here. This is one tap. But you do just want to make sure there are no harsh edges, and you're very softly pulling it out. I'm going to mix a little bit of Alchemy and Aftertaste, because I think Aftertaste is a bit bright, and I'm going to put that. You can see already slightly less intense on the original, like putting your brush down, but the colour is quite close. If you build it up, you can get a very similar effect. And like I said, very softly pulling this out. I'd say that's quite similar, in my humble opinion. All right, now is where we get a little bit trickier. The browns are slightly different. So I'm gonna take a teeny bit of Delicious, tap it off, and I'm gonna mix in like the smallest little bit of Buff as well, just to lighten it up. Going in again to that same place, really intensifying that inner crease. Blending it out, but not quite as wide or as blown out. Cozy, you really smoked out. This, you're keeping slightly more controlled in a smaller area. And then again, I'm just going to blend that in with Cozy. So it's deepened it up, it's taken away some of the red. Then I'm gonna take Finish Sensual, which is the brown from the Zoeva palette, and I'm gonna do the same thing. And I think it's quite a good color match. We're gonna leave the lid clear for now. Next, I am taking quite a small flat brush, and again, I'm gonna take that Delicious shade. I'm going back in with the browns from the palette, so this is the Vive side. And I'm just gonna start by tapping that on the outer third of the lid. So you can see you're kind of creating like a diagonal. We're gonna use eyeshadow as a liner, so I'm just marking out the shape of where we want our wing to be, and then just building that outer corner, tapping on the outer third of the lid, and then just finding where you want that to wing out. So now we have some really ugly wings. Just take a fluffy brush and you just want to blend that out so that you've still got that shape, but it's not quite as harsh. I need to kind of play around to try and make this work, because the darkest color in the Zoeva palette is Edible Gem, which is a kind of chocolate purple brown with gold shimmers in. And the equivalent would be Lava Rock, which also has a slight purple undertone. I'm gonna start with Lava Rock, and you basically want to do the exact same thing that you just did, but a little bit darker and be a little bit more particular about where it goes. I'm not gonna lie, I've got a bit of a patch on my Vive side that won't blend out. Let me do the Zoeva side and come back to it. So I'm gonna take Edible Gem. This has shimmer, but you'll see why that doesn't really matter. Okay, now I'm gonna go in again with the lightest shades in the palette. So I'm gonna go in with So Shy from the Vive palette. And I just wanna kind of accentuate this line going between the inner crease and the wing. So I'm just lightening it up a little bit just to enhance that. And then wax paper. Ooh. Oh my god, go on wax paper. And you can barely tell that there's shimmer on this eye at all. It kind of blends away. Now we want a little bit of glitz, of course. I'm gonna take a little bit of glimmer and I'm gonna mix it with Carrot. And I'm actually gonna wet my brush for this. And this we are gonna pop in the inner third. And then I'm gonna start pulling that onto the lid. Such a pretty shimmer. And then on the other side, I'm gonna use Almost Burnt, which is slightly less glittery, slightly more shimmery, and slightly more gold. This isn't hugely important. You'll see why in a second. Because we're gonna put another product on top. This next product will not be a surprise to any of you. This is probably one of my favorite products ever. It's the Lottie London Eye Foil in the shade Denied. This product is just so beautiful. It is stunning. I think it's gonna look really, really cool against these warm eyes because it is just a pure silver glitter, except when you pat it out, it isn't like an opaque glitter. It's really kind of chunky and sparse, which is exactly what we want for this look. I don't have a high-end version. This is high street, so I'm gonna put this on both sides because it is affordable. And I'm just gonna take it on a fluffy brush, and I am going to tap this over the lid. Oh my god, it's so pretty. And go all the way up on the part that is light. Anywhere that there isn't a dark eyeshadow. Oh my god, it's so gorgeous. I use it all the time. I talk about it all the time. And whenever I wear it, I just get so many messages asking me what's on my lid. And it's always this. I am going to do a little bit of liquid liner just to deepen things up a little bit. So my favourite liquid liner is the KVD Vegan Beauty Trooper Black Liner. But my favourite drugstore one is the Max Factor Masterpiece High Precision Liquid Liner. A tiny little wing. We will go over this again with shadow to soften it, but I just really want a lot of depth at this lash line. Little wing. And then I am going on top with the darkest shade just to blend it in. And that just helps to add a little bit more depth. That is it for now for the eyes. I'm just gonna peel away my eye boogers that have caught a little bit of glitter, which is good. And now let's do my favorite part, which is the skin. I had quite a lot of love affairs with base products this year. And I was watching all of my old favorites videos from like earlier on in the year because I wanted to give them a fair shot. And two products that regularly popped up were these two. The NARS Tinted Glow Booster in the shade Medium Simos and the Ole Henriksen Banana Bright Face Primer. These two are regulars in my makeup and I have loved both of them so much this year. One is like a primer and the other one is more like a glow. This is the most similar to the Ole Henriksen I've got. It's got those skincare benefits. It's really hydrating, luminizing, and makes your face look so bright and smooth and gorgeous. And then as my dupe for the NARS, I'm going to use the Revlon Skin Lights Face Glow Illuminator, which is also a super stunning product that I've used a lot this year. So on my high-end side, let's start with the Ole Henriksen. I'm going to take half a pump because I'm only doing half my face. And this primer is super hydrating. It smells amazing. It smells like oranges. You'd think it smelled like bananas, but no. Honestly, every time I look at my face at the end of the day and it looks really good, I'm always like, what primer am I using? And it is usually this one. Oh, and it smells so good. And then I'm going to use the Revlon on the drugstore side. They've got a similar color. So this is the Ole Henriksen and then this is the Revlon. The Ole Henriksen is quite thick and the Revlon honestly is a little bit thinner, but honestly it is equally as hydrating. And I don't know if you can see the glow it's given my skin, but they both just work wonders and feel amazing on your face. We're gonna take the NARS Tinted Glow Booster. This does have the one up because it's a tinted glow booster, so it does have a slight bit of coverage. So I did wear this as a foundation some days this year. And then the Revlon Skin Lights, which is definitely more of just a dedicated glow product. But they are both very, very lovely. So if I start blending in the NARS, you can see there is definitely some coverage there. And then the Revlon is more of a purely glow product. But again, it does have some colour to it. So it does add a little bit of warmth to your face, but I wouldn't wear it on its own. My foundation of the year is actually a high street foundation. It's the Ciate Extraordinary Foundation. I'm going to use this all over my face because I don't have a drugstore dupe for it, because it's kind of like a higher end drugstore product. It's like somewhere in the middle, I'd say. It is a super full coverage, glowy, luminous, long wearing foundation. I just absolutely love it. I don't have enough good words to say about it. I feel like I talk about this all the time. It's my go-to. If I just know that I need my face to look good, this is what I'll use. It comes with a pump. It's really travel friendly and lightweight. Hopefully this color matches me right now because I'm quite pale. I just apply it with my beauty blender and you'll see that you barely need any product for some very full coverage, but it keeps that like lovely, fresh, dewy glow that I love so much in a foundation. Hopefully you guys can see how smooth and luminous this base is. All right, back to my favorite concealers of the year. So I've already shown you the NARS, but my favorite for under the eyes and brightening, I think I'm gonna have to give it to the Laura Mercier concealers. This is the Flawless Fusion Concealer. I've got the shades N1 and 3W here. I used N1 to brighten under my eyes and 3W to conceal around my nose and kind of dark areas. And then the high street equivalent, which is honestly so close, is the Flower Beauty what's it called? Light Illusion Concealers. So I have the shades Fair and Medium here. I'm gonna start with the darker shades of both concealers to cover any blemishes. And I'm also gonna pop a tiny bit under the eye because the lighter concealers are a little bit too light. And then on the drugstore, going in with the Flower Beauty. Oh, gorgeous. They're both just so like creamy, hydrating, such a lovely amount of coverage. I'm obsessed. And then, like I said, going in with the lighter shades as well, just under the eyes. So I kind of mix these two together on my face. And I have to highlight my nose, so I'm just gonna use one of them, sorry. It's quite hard. But you see how bright that shade is? And then blend. Okay, it's looking pretty good. Looking pretty similar, to be honest. My absolute favorite setting powder this year has been the Laura Mercier translucent setting powder. It's my absolute favorite. It's so smoothing. It makes your face just look poreless. Like, it just looks amazing. So I'm going to set under my eye. Just a little bit to set just this very triangle because I haven't finished using cream products yet. And I'm also going to set the side of my nose. I kind of bake just this area of my face. I find it just very flattering. It helps me with my nose contour and yeah, just makes any pores disappear. And then I would say my favorite high street setting powder is the Maybelline Face Studio setting powder, the baking and brightening loose powder. I think this claims to be translucent. It's got a slight kind of peachy hue to it. It's a little bit more like powdery. I know they're both loose powders, but it's slightly more almost chalky than the Laura Mercier, because the Laura Mercier one is very creamy for a powder. It's like a moisturizing powder. I don't really know how to describe it other than that, but this one's very much more like a powder. I'm just gonna pop a little bit in between my brows as well. I really don't leave that on for long. I just put it on and then kind of immediately buff it away. And they're pretty similar. The Laura Mercier just is slightly more smoothing. Next, this is a dupe I've already talked about on this channel, and they are the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Beauty Light Wand Highlighter. And the dupe is the Max Factor Miracle Sculpting Wand Universal Highlighter. They are very, very similar in packaging, not in price point, but also in finish. They are very, very similar. So I'm gonna put some of the Charlotte Tilbury on the back of my hand, and I'm gonna use a sponge. And this is just gorgeous on the high points of your cheek. If you put it on with the same sponge you do your foundation with, it just blends so lovely. Beautifully into your foundation. I often like to also blend it in literally with my concealer. See, it's like a texture rather than just like a glittery highlight. And then I'm going to take the Max Factor, obviously, on the other side. Again, just a lovely glowy product, and it sits really well on top of your foundation. Let's finish the lower lash line. I'm going to take Delicious and just blend this on the lower lash line into that wing. I'm going to do the same with the brown in Zoeva, and then I'm going to take the warm shade that we started with from both palettes, so that would be Cozy and Aftermath, to blend that in. Okay, let's bronze. I think just because of my Project 10 pan, this is probably my most used bronzer. It is my Charlotte Tilbury Filmstar Bronze and Glow palette. I am really starting to make a dent on this one. I say bronzer, more of a contour I've been loving this to add some depth to the backs of my cheekbones because it's not a crazy warm bronzer. It is definitely more of a contour shade, a little bit of a cool tone to it. So I don't go ham with this because I do also use a bronzer. That is my favorite contour of the year. And then my favorite drugstore dupe of that, I'm gonna say the Flower Beauty Lift and Sculpt contouring palette. And this shade is quite similar. It's ever so slightly more pink. If you want an affordable alternative, they do look pretty damn similar. I'm gonna push the bow out and I'm also gonna contour my nose with these. My favorite nose contour of all time is Hoola bronzer. That is no question, but let's just try something different today. I regret my decision. Hopefully this helps. Bad nose contour day. Not what we want. Anyway, my favorite mascara of 2020 was definitely the Dalla Palma My Toy Boy mascara. This is brilliant. I have not seen anyone else talk about this. I think it needs a little bit more screen time, to be honest. It's so volumizing, it's lengthening, and it is quick. Like one coat, throw it on, done every time. It's such an amazing mascara. I think Dalla Palma is like a middle of the road kind of price point, so I'm going to use this on both sides. Before and after, one coat. Honestly, I don't feel like I need too much bronzer right now, but my favorite warmthening bronzer of the year, I think, was the same last year. I'm gonna have to give it to my Hoola Caramel. It is such a stunning bronzer. It is warm and matte and delicious. So I'm gonna warm up one side of my face using this. Honestly, I was really struggling to find a bronzer that's that same warmth, but the closest I could find is this one from MUA, and it is the Solar 100 bronzer. It is that similar warm tone, but it is lighter and sheerer. So you need to build it up a little bit more to get that same kind of level of color, but it can give you the same effect. This will be no surprise, my favorite blush of the year, the Hourglass Luminous Flush and Mood Exposure. I have been mixing these two together for months. It is such a lovely blush color. It's just a bright pink, and I've been really getting into a very bright pink blush recently. It's not entirely matte, it's got a little bit of a sheen to it, and it just gives your skin this like gorgeous flushed glow. And it's perfect for this time of year because it kind of looks like you've been out in the cold and you've come in and you're a little bit flushed. To make it even more affordable, I am going to use all three of these products in this video. So the blush I'm going to use is from the Flower Beauty palette because it's a similar kind of bright pink with a slight glow to it. It's very pigmented, but it adds a very similar color and a very similar finish. So this is a really great option. I'm gonna set my face with the Pixie Rose Glow Mist, and I'm not very fussy about setting sprays. So I've had a lot of favorite highlighters this year, but I'm gonna use the one that I've been using the most recently, and that has been the other half of the Charlotte Tilbury Filmstar Bronze and Glow. I've been using this highlight loads. I kind of went off of it for a while there because it's quite subtle. It's not my usual like beaming highlight, but with that magic wand highlighter underneath, it adds just a really great glow. I'm gonna pop some of this on, and I love it because it's more like a sheen. It like really melts into your skin rather than just sitting on top of it. And then to highlight the other side, I'm going to use the Flower Beauty, which is a beautiful highlighter. It's a little bit more intense than the Charlotte Tilbury, so depending on what kind of vibe you're into, this may actually be better for you. It's gorgeous. I love this palette so much. It has duped 3 of my favorite products this year, so if there's one thing to maybe pick up, I'd say it's this. Finally, for my lips. Now, I think we're all expecting me to go for a nude. I have worn a lot of nudes this year, and I think my favorite has to be Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk. I think would be my favorite overall lipstick of the year. But you know what? I'm gonna go for a red today, or like a sheer red, because this is another one of my absolute favorites from this year that I have worn to death. It is the NARS Afterglow Lip Balm in the shade Turbo. It's just a beautiful sheer wash of color, a sheer red, balmy lipstick. It's not even a lipstick really, it's a lip balm. I'm gonna line my lips. I'm gonna use the same liner on both sides. This is the Makeup Forever Up and Down Tan. And I'm just gonna lightly outline my lips. And then on one side I'm gonna go in with the NARS. Sorry guys, my camera battery died and it's been a long time since I filmed that clip, but I actually ended up using a different product. So I used the NARS on this side and then I put the Loreal on and it wasn't quite right. So I went back into my collection to see if there was something closer, and oh boy, did I find something closer. This is the Bourjois Rouge Edition Souffle de Velvet in the shade 7, and it is such a good duplicate. It's very similar. It's so much more similar than the L'Oreal one. So on this side I'm wearing NARS and on this side I'm wearing Bourjois. And this is the finished look. These were all of my favorite products, as well as some more affordable options for you guys if that is something that you need. This video has taken me about 4 hours to film because of various technical difficulties, so I apologize if I seem to get less enthusiastic as the video goes along. I was just getting more and more frustrated. So I hope that doesn't come across too badly in the video, but I hope you enjoyed it anyway. I will have linked all of the products I talked about today down below if you'd like to pick them up. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for all of your lovely comments on my last video. I'm really enjoying filming again and I really missed it over the Christmas break, and I have so many fun videos planned that I can't wait to film for you guys. So yeah, thank you for watching, have the best day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!